Hello, Chicago! Welcome on in to the latest episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport. Woo! That was a rough one yesterday, wasn't it? Talk about an up and down roller coaster ride to take the lead with 23 seconds left, only to have the game ripped out on the final play, a desperation Hail Mary heave. We will, of course, be discussing the Bears game. We will talk about the Hail Mary. We will talk about Tyreek Stevenson. We will talk about Matt Eberflus and his coaching staff. We will talk everything about that game. Not everything is going to be bad, though. There is a silver lining in this yesterday, and we will find it. We'll explain that. Elsewhere on tonight's show, the Bulls kicked off their season last week. They didn't get swept. They did win one of their first three games, and they're down in Memphis, tipping off to take off the Grizzlies tonight. We will check in on that one. We'll also just kind of take the temperature of the team 1 week into the season. And then finally, Jerry Reinsdorf said a few weeks ago that he's not opposed to selling the White Sox. Is he serious? We'll talk about that, plus whatever else comes along. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle on up, everybody. Let's go. Hello, and welcome on in to the latest installment of Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. So glad that you are here with us tonight. A lot to be going through on tonight's show. Of course, we're going to be breaking down that heartbreaking loss out in Washington, D.C. yesterday to the Commanders. Every angle of that Hail Mary, all the bad coaching decisions, all the bad plays, all that it was entailed in that game. There is a silver lining to be found there in it, though, and we will find it. We will discuss that as well. Elsewhere on the show tonight, we're also going to check in on the Bulls. They're playing down in Memphis tonight, taking on the Grizzlies. We'll check in on that game as well as just kind of take the temperature of the team 1 week into the season, see where we're at with them. And then finally, a story that I've kind of been wanting to get to the last couple of weeks, but situations being what they are, just we haven't. I want to talk about Jerry Reinsdorf saying that the Chicago White Sox might be up for sale. So we've got a lot to get through here in the show tonight. Not a whole lot of time to do it. But before we begin, a quick word from our sponsors, and then we will dive right in with Bears discussion. So you are tuned into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Do not go anywhere. We're talking Bears right after this. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into the show here on Chi-Town Weekly. Adam Karnick back with you. Want to say thank you again to all of our sponsors: Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket, Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, and of course, IE Sports Radio for providing the platform for this show. Thank you to all of those. I am Adam Karnick. Glad that you are here with us tonight as we get going. And if you are listening live, if you are watching live here on Monday night, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, leave us a comment, leave a chat. Let me know you're here. We can interact and have some fun that way. Taryn is watching on YouTube. Says, good evening, Adam. Try to have an awesome show. We are going to have an awesome show. Yes, yesterday did indeed hurt, but the sun came up this morning. We're doing a show. We're going to go through that. We're going to piece some of this together from yesterday. If you're still needing to vent and get out frustrations, this is a place to do that. Leave me whatever you want in the comment section. If you've just got to let it out on somebody or something from that Bears game yesterday, this is a spot to do it. Go right ahead. You can even tell me, hey, I just want to say this, but I don't even want it to pop up on the screen. You could type that in there too, and I'll see it and I'll leave it right there. But this is a safe spot to do that. There's plenty to be frustrated about from that game yesterday. You heard that IE Sports Radio is available on all the social media platforms. Follow along with the station on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at IE Sports Radio. This show is available for you on Twitter as well at IESRC, or you can follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick. I see that Mom is there in the house too. Good evening, Mom. Glad you're here listening. You finally got to watch a game, and it was certainly a memorable one this season. So, of course, we're going to start things off with the Bears falling to the Commanders yesterday, 18-15. Oy, oy, oy. Oh, what a back-breaking way to lose a game. And we may as well start with the Hail Mary and that final possession, that final drive for the Commanders as they got down there. So much just in the Hail Mary, just in the Hail Mary itself. You first of all, you've got Tyreek Stevenson not paying attention at all to the play going on. It looked on the video like he was hollering at Commanders fans. He said today that really what he was doing was he was celebrating with Bears fans. And there were a lot of Bears fans at that game yesterday. You could hear it across the broadcast. There were Bears fans out in force yesterday, which was great to see and hear and experience. I mean, that place was rocking. Whether it was the Bears doing something good or the Commanders doing something good, there was big energy going on in that stadium at all times. That was great. But you had Tyreek Stevenson just completely lose track of everything. And he finally, looking at it on the tape, receivers are at the Bears 10-yard line before he finally realizes that, oh yeah, there's a play going on and I have to be part of it. As a result, he doesn't do his job. And the man that he was responsible to block out is the man that winds up catching the touchdown pass. And that's what causes the Commanders to win. And there were shows today in national media that spent 20 to 30 minutes just on that play. We could probably do the entire show just on the Hail Mary right there, from Tyreek Stevenson to the fact that everybody went into the mosh pit and nobody stayed back, to everybody jumped too early. And so as a result, the ball gets tipped up and back as opposed to down, which is what you're trying to do as a defense. Is you want to get two hands on it and just push that ball straight into the ground. You don't want to intercept it. You don't want to bat it around, because who knows what happens to it after that. You just want it to go straight down. You just want to dirt that ball is what you're trying to do on that Hail Mary. There's the fact that there were 7 defenders back there against just 4 receivers, and they still came away with it. There's the fact that your 3 down linemen to rush just didn't. There was a little bit of an initial rush, and then that was that. I don't want to get into the fact that, there was holding on the play. There's holding on every Hail Mary. There's pass interference on every Hail Mary. They're not going to call it. You can whine about it and complain about it all you want. They're never going to call it. They're just not. It's just the way a Hail Mary is going to be officiated. It is what it is. And it shouldn't be. It's what it is. So complaining about that to me is just a waste of time to complain about that. What was, to me, more significant, though, was the play before the Hail Mary, the lead up to it, where Daniels hits a receiver for hits. I think it was Terry McLaurin for 13 yards on the sideline before the Hail Mary. And why is that more significant? Because Washington head coach Dan Quinn said so. He said after the game, I believe it was today, Quinn said that 13-yard gain, the play before, was everything. If that play doesn't happen, the Hail Mary doesn't happen. And there was no defense on that. There was no defense there on the sideline. You just ran this drill to close the first half. You have defenders covering the sidelines. Washington's out of timeouts. They've got to go to the sideline. If they go over the middle, great. Great. You tackle them in the middle of the field, or you wait for them to go down, and then they have to come up and spike the ball. You cover those sidelines. You don't allow them to pick up 13 to 15 yards and get out of bounds. It's one or the other. You're either going to pick up 5 or 6 yards and get out of bounds, or you're going to pick up 15 yards. You're not going to do both. And the fact that Matt Eberflus refused to acknowledge that, even today when asked about it, he said he didn't think that play was all that significant, that he was worried that they were going to try to take the Hail Mary on that play, that's when the deep shot was going to come. And it's just ridiculous. That's just absolutely ridiculous that's how that was going to go down. That's not how that was going to happen. That was just too far to go. You're not going to go 65 yards. You saw from the Hail Mary, Daniels couldn't throw it the 52 yards. That ball came up 3 or 4 yards short of the end zone and only made it there because of the tip drill going not Chicago's way. Those 13 yards were massive. And that's really, to me, this loss, you learn a lot about your teams. You learn a lot about yourself as a team in a loss. And this loss, in a lot of ways, confirmed some of our worst fears for this team, of this team, about this team. I said after the Jacksonville game, what the Bears had a checklist of things they needed to do in the bye week. And those things ultimately didn't happen. You needed to figure out how to start the game faster. The Bears have been one of the worst first quarter offenses in football. They had coming into yesterday, they had scored a grand total of 10 points in the first quarter. Well, not only did you not score in the first quarter yesterday, you scored all of 7 points through 3 quarters. You went backwards in that department. You needed to figure out how to operate your silent count offense. And there were issues with that yesterday. You had snaps that weren't clean. You had a lot of problems of guys not getting off the ball at the right time. You had way too many procedural problems. In short, and ultimately the biggest question you kind of had going into this one, were the Bears mature enough to handle this? You got the bright lights. The game got moved. It was originally supposed to be a noon kick. It got moved to the 3:25 slot. You went from who knows on the CBS crew all the way up to, you got Nance and Romo calling the game. You got the number one crew on CBS, arguably the number one crew in the NFL. Certainly I would argue the number one play-by-play man in the NFL right now. Cole Kmet had said, a couple weeks ago, he's tired of the noon kickoffs. He's ready to play more games under the lights. Here you go. Here's an opportunity. This is, the 3-game winning streak was the first time ever under Eberflus that they'd won that many in a row. And they came out and just had way too many problems. They weren't ready for it ultimately. And that's a problem. I know a lot of people want to vent and pin a lot of this loss on Tyreek Stevenson. And that's not necessarily without blame, without fault, without reason for wanting to put it there. Obviously, you had the Hail Mary. That was a total screw up on his part, but he had a rough game. He gave up a deep pass to Terry McLaurin early. He drew he drew that personal foul penalty in the second half. He, in short, allowed himself to get caught up in the emotions of the game. It got into his head, and you can't allow that to happen. You've got to stay composed. You've got to keep your head in the game at all times, not just on the Hail Mary, but throughout the game. You've got to stay there. But to me, this loss falls on the coaches. This falls on the coaching staff. Some of it directly, the fact that Eberflus couldn't figure out to take a timeout somewhere on that final drive to make sure that everybody knew what their responsibility was. I understand that there's some concern that, oh my gosh, that gives them a chance to talk about what they want to do too. But you've got to get your head out of your play sheet, and you've got to know whether or not your guys know what's going on and know what to do. There were times where it was Eberflus was running up and down the sideline trying to communicate something on that final drive. Dude, take a timeout. You're the head coach. Take a timeout, get the message to your guys, and then get them back out there. You've got good players. They know what to do. You've got to make sure that they know what you want them to do. Shane Waldron, offensive coordinator, again, getting cute at the 1-yard line. I know that we've had a lot of fun with Doug Kramer playing the role of fullback, but he is not a fullback. He is the backup center. It's one thing to use him as a lead blocker. It is another to actually let him carry the ball in a critical moment in the game. Now, if the Bears were up and it was, let's say it was 14-10 Bears, or it was 17-10 Bears, or 20-10 Bears, absolutely. Go right ahead, have some fun with it. But you needed that touchdown. And you went with, even though it's not drawn up like a trick play, because of the personnel, that's a trick play. When you're having your backup center attempt to take a handoff, that's a trick play. A non-ball carrier doing something with the ball, that's a trick play. And you got cute at the 1-yard line again, and it burned you again. You can't do that. Just line up and take the points. Enough cute stuff from the 1-yard line. No more. The final problem, and this is the biggest gripe with the coaching staff, and this falls on Eberflus, is the utter lack of accountability on the part of the head coach. We've heard from the players. We've heard from Tyreek Stevenson. We have heard from DJ Moore. We have heard from Caleb Williams. We have heard from Jalen Johnson. We have heard from Cole Kmet. We've heard from Kevin Byard that we've got to be accountable. We're going to, that we're going to pick ourselves up. We're going to defend our brother. We've got his back, but we've got to be accountable. Yet when the head coach gets asked, hey, what did you think of that play call from the 1 yard line? Did you really think that handing the ball off to Doug Kramer was the best decision there? Well, we only needed a yard. Hey, you gave them an extra 13 yards on the play before the Hail Mary. You really think that was the best idea? Oh, that didn't have any impact on the game. Hey, is Tyreek Stevenson going to be in any kind of trouble for his total zone out on the final play? No, I don't think we're going to need to do that. Your players have all said they are going to hold each other accountable. They have begged you to hold them accountable. You need to hold yourself accountable. It hurts. It absolutely hurts to do so. West Trueblood. That's why we need a fullback. That's another wonderful question to ask that, hey, since the fullback dive was apparently in the game plan, why was Kerry Blasingame a healthy scratch for the 4th game in a row? Why is Doug Kramer in there now being asked to carry the ball as a backup center when Kerry Blasingame, an actual honest to goodness fullback, is a healthy scratch week in and week out? Why is Kerry Blasingame still on this roster? As I'm smacking my computer. Well, and Wes saying they released him, but and I've seen it both ways, because I've seen that they released him, but I also saw that he was on the inactive list for yesterday. But it's either way. Why are you running? Why is this the play to run with this guy when he's not done it before? And why is it not okay to run it with this guy that has done it before? Remember the game at Washington last year? I know that everybody remembers it was the DJ Moore game, but Kerry Blasingame actually had to finish that game at running back because he was literally the only healthy back they had. He had a career high in carries at the end of that game. So you know that Kerry Blasingame is comfortable carrying the ball. Why go about it this way? But there's no accountability from Eberflus. He just brushes it aside. That's the frustrating part. That is the concerning part. The players are accountable. They are holding themselves accountable. They are begging the coaches to hold them accountable. The coaches need to hold themselves accountable. And not just with the players, but we need to hear it at the podium too, because that's as much a message to the players as it is to the fans. Now, I said at the top that there is a silver lining in this. And I know that for the first 30 minutes of this show, it's been all doom and gloom and frustration. And actually, frankly, it's a little bit more frustration than even I was expecting I was going to be putting out. Because there is a silver lining here. So let's get into that. There is a silver lining with this. For 3 quarters yesterday, Caleb Williams was horrible. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no way to to put it nicely. He was horrible. It was the worst he had looked as a pro. You had a game plan that was littered with problems. You had procedural penalties up and down the field. You had a defense that was gassed and eventually lost focus at the most critical time. And yet, all that, it's just at best, if we're saying teams, oh, you got to bring your A game to beat those guys. Oh, you got to bring your A game this week, guys. It's going to take your A game to win this week. That was at best a C game for the Bears. And I feel like I might be being generous by saying that. I know CBS Sports last night in their team grades, they gave the Bears a B-. I thought that was incredibly generous. I would at best call that a C for the Bears last night. I would grade them a C. And that's only because the defense stood tall in the red zone. Absolutely 0 touchdowns allowed in the red zone, despite the first 3 drives of the game all getting inside the 10. 0 touchdowns allowed. The way Caleb Williams played in the fourth quarter, the last 2 drives, it would have been so easy to say, you know what, guys? It's a long season. They got us. It's just not our day, guys. Let's phone it in. Let's stay healthy. Let's make sure that we survive to next week. Tip our cap. They got us. No. Instead, Caleb played his best ball with the game on the line. The last 2 drives, his overall box was abysmal and atrocious. I'm pulling it up right now just so that I can get the exact misery of it for you. The final stat line was 10 of 24 for 131 yards. The last 2 drives, though, 6 of 8 for 98 yards and got the team down to the 1-yard line on back-to-back drives. They only scored once. I know the fumble is technically his. He's the last person I would blame for that. Eberflus and Waldron leaped to mind there. That showed leadership. That showed guts. That showed a maturation that is going to serve the Bears well. You also saw him after the Bears got the lead and they convert the 2-point play, which that was huge. That 2-point play is that a field goal could only tie. You also saw Caleb then on the sidelines, totally engaged in the final drive and actually racing down the sideline to make sure that nobody wandered onto the field of play accidentally. He actually grabbed an assistant coach and pulled them off the field so that the Bears couldn't get penalized for that. You saw leadership from Caleb at the end of that game. All that is to say, the Bears had a truly horrible game from the word go. A C grade game at best. And it still took a literal Hail Mary to beat them. It still came down to Washington needed a last-second desperate heave and a prayer of a play to beat them. This is a turning point game for the Bears. This is going to be a turning point game. We're going to learn a hell of a lot about this team here in this coming week as we get ready to turn the page. As you know, always Arizona sports, we'll see you in Arizona this week. Yes, you'll be able to hear them on Friday afternoon, breaking down the Arizona preview for the Arizona side of the preview for that game this week. Friday afternoon at 3. You lost. Nothing that happens, nothing that you can do this week can change that fact. You can either own up to it, take responsibility for it, take accountability to make sure that it doesn't happen again, that everybody knows what their assignment and their responsibilities are on every play, and you can grow from it and allow it to mature you, or you can let it break you. You've got 2 more opponents here that are softer. And I say that with extreme delicacy, especially with the next opponent, the Arizona Cardinals. Because don't look now, but the Arizona Cardinals are on a 2-game winning streak. And they have shown a resiliency this season to be able to come from behind and win games that you would not expect them to win. They beat the Dolphins yesterday. They came from behind to beat the Chargers last week. They came from behind to beat the 49ers a couple weeks ago. Yes, they're 4-4, but don't look now. They've won 2 in a row and 3 of their last 4. This is definitely not an Arizona Cardinals team to treat with kid gloves. You have to take them seriously. At the same time, they're beatable. The New England Patriots the week after that, beatable. You can't allow this loss yesterday to spiral and turn into a losing streak, because we're not that far away from the divisional portion of this schedule. And man, that is really when the going is going to get tough on this one. So we're going to learn a hell of a lot about this Bears team this coming week. Just how mature they are. You've got another chance to show that you're capable of winning on the road in the NFL, something they have not done a lot of in the Matt Eberflus era. They're just 3-17 on the road, counting yesterday. Just 3-17 on the road in the Eberflus era. You've got another chance here to try and improve upon that and show that you can learn from what happened yesterday and be ready to take that next step. We are going to step aside for a quick moment, get ourselves reset here, and we are going to talk some Bulls. They are down in Memphis playing the Grizzlies tonight. We will check in on them and also just take a quick peek at how they've done the first week of the NBA season. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey yo, what's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff from my people on the 913 side. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick back with you for a little bit here. Talked a ton of Bears to kick off the show. A lot of time talking about, of course, the Hail Mary and the loss, but I hope we were able to find a little bit of a silver lining from that one as well, from the game yesterday. Now we're going to switch gears and check in on the Bulls tonight. The Bulls are down in Memphis taking on the Grizzlies. They tipped off just about the same time that the show itself started. So just checking in on them real quick. They are relatively early in the second quarter. Memphis, a strong start with 9.5 minutes to go in the first half. It is Memphis 40, Chicago 24. Pulling up some of the box. Right now for the Bulls, Nikolai Vucevic leading the team in scoring right now with 7 points, along with Jalen Smith with 7 points for the Bulls. Right now, partway into the second quarter, nobody else is any more than 3. Lonzo Ball, in his first 4 minutes of action, he did sink a 3-point shot. Patrick Williams, also a 3-pointer. Not much else going on of consequence there in the scoring. Meanwhile, Memphis, Desmond Bane already with 14 points to lead the way for Memphis. And then also Jaren Jackson Jr., 11.5 points for Memphis. Bulls also a rough start at the free throw line, just 3 of 6 from the line. Already 4 turnovers for the Bulls in the game tonight. And that's kind of been a story and a theme for the Bulls through their first week. Off to a 1-2 start. Lost the season opener Lost the season opener down in New Orleans last Wednesday night, 123-111 in a game where they turned it over 21 times, which led to 30 points for the Pelicans. Then in a game Friday night, went into Milwaukee and shocked the Bucks, came away with a 133-122 upset win over the Bucks. Actually led at halftime and basically led at the end of every quarter except the first on that one. Kobe White, a huge night, 35 points for the Bulls to lead the way in that one. But you saw improvement from the team there in the turnovers, only 10 turnovers, which led to just 14 points for the Bucks in that one. And then in the home opener last week, Saturday, the Bulls fell to OKC 114-95. And the Bulls just never seemed to be in that one. Second, first back-to-back of the season, you're going to have some lack of energy, but just a terrible night for the Bulls all around. 34% from the field, including just 28% from three. They shot terribly from the free throw line. You saw, again, 26 turnovers. That, the turnovers are a huge part of the Bulls' story here in the early part of the season. If they contain the ball, if they protect the ball, they play well. If they turn the ball over, it tends to not go well. They just don't have the horses the defensive horses to come back and contend with that if they make mistakes on the offensive side and turn the ball over, and if they're careless with the ball. Surprised to see that. I mean, had you said, yeah, they're going to start 1-2, Milwaukee probably would have been the last one I would have picked to be the one. I don't know that I ever would have thought, oh yeah, that means they beat Milwaukee, right? They lost to New Orleans, they lost to OKC, but they beat Milwaukee, sure, right? Nope. Oh, and Lonzo's going to sit out that one game. Nope. That's not how I would have predicted it at all. But that's where they find themselves at this point. And now tonight against Memphis, now down by 20, 44-24 to the Grizzlies. Other games they've got upcoming this week. Wednesday night, they are home to take on the Magic. See what they can do in that one. And then Friday night, they are in New Jersey to take on the Nets. So no back-to-backs this week. We could potentially then see Lonzo Ball all three games. We'll see how he's feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep him out for one of those games, even though none of them are back-to-back. It wouldn't shock me if they were to hold him out, especially since they've got the weekend off, no games on Saturday or Sunday. So it wouldn't surprise me if they keep him out of the Friday game, because then they can get him effectively. Now I'm going to do math off the top of my head. Four straight days of rest, and it only costs them a game. So it wouldn't shock me to see them do that, to kind of give Lonzo a Veterans Day there. Zach LaVine got off to a hot start against the Pelicans in the opener, which was spectacular to see. You kind of wondered how he would do coming back after trouble, injury history, and then all the rumblings and rumors of they've got to trade him. Who are they trading him to? When are they trading him? How is this trade thing all gonna go down? So much trade talk, so much trade talk. And then he comes out and just has a spectacular first half of the opener. Since then, though, little bit of struggle for Levine in that one. He was held out of the game against the Bucks. Didn't see him at all. Again, the game they won. And then against the Thunder, against the Thunder, 22 points. But, again, it kind of scattered in there a little bit in its minutes and his usage. Not enough to make a difference in the games. The Bulls got blown out, lost by 19 at home with him in the lineup. So a mixed bag early for the Bulls, about what we probably would have expected to see from them in the early going from the Bulls. All right, we're going to take one more quick break, and then a story that I have been meaning to get to for a couple weeks, and just constraints of the show being what they are, haven't gotten to it yet. Are the White Sox really for sale? We will talk about that next here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick with you here for just a couple of more minutes before we stop the show tonight and turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point, getting us caught up in everything happening in the world of volleyball. So I want to preface this. I know that this is a few weeks old on this story already, and I'm genuinely sorry that it's taken me this long to get to it. I have wanted to get to it sooner, but the show's only an hour, and obviously, in football season, football is king. Football is absolutely king. Oh, as I see Tom checks in a little. I hear you there on the being under the weather. My son was sick last week, and it passed around the house. It finally made its way to me on Saturday night, and I spent yesterday recuperating the whole day. So I get it. I'm better now. So hopefully it's not long for you, but I hear you. It is going round. It is making the rounds. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, whatever you can. Lots of vitamin C, lots of vitamins, get your shots, all those important things. We're coming up on that season, especially if you got kids in school. Ugh. Anyway, it's and it's not even necessarily White Sox fatigue that made me put this story off. It just was simply the show is only an hour, and it happened right as the Blackhawks are kicking off their season. The Bulls are kicking off their season. The Bears are on a winning streak, and we're seeing great and glorious things happen. how do I fit in this White Sox story into it? Well, I just kept kicking it down the line. We got to talk about this. We got to get into this a little bit. Are the White Sox really for sale? We heard Jerry Reinsdorf a couple weeks ago say that he is considering putting the White Sox up for sale, and that there's a team of investors based out of Nashville that are interested. How legit is this? First of all, I know from, not from personal, but from listening to connected sources, that there were people inside the White Sox organization that were taken aback and surprised yesterday, that were very surprised by the news that Jerry might be interested in selling. What? That's not anything that he's relayed to us. That doesn't seem to be accurate at all. We also remember that Jerry went down to Nashville and spoke with the mayor down there. Now, maybe it had to do with the Chicago Sports Network, because the company that essentially is the broadcasting arm of the network is based out of Nashville. It's also part of why they have had no success getting onto Comcast, basically because they have no leg to stand on. They're making demands that they're not worth yet, according per Comcast. Tom, who is now living in San Antonio, is making the living in San Antonio, Texas, is now making the case for the White Sox to move down to San Antonio. The only pro team is the Spurs. Frankly, if they decide to move, and I feel like what this is from Jerry is the next play in the how to get public funding for my privately owned ballpark playbook. Because he even told you that this is what he was going to do. You know, remember back in March when all that talk came about building a new stadium in the 78 district? You know, that patch of land that nobody was really interested in doing anything, and all of a sudden now, it's the hottest piece of property in all of Chicagoland. And Jerry's got these wonderful designs for this new ballpark, and that, oh God, you know, this guaranteed rate field, it's a horrible location. We can't make any money here. Fans can't make it to the ballpark. It's so difficult to get to. No. When you guys were competing for the World Series, everybody was able to get there just fine. When you guys were competing for the division every year, fans are able to get to the ballpark. White Sox fans in particular they want to know that it's going to be worth their investment, that you're going to care as much as they care before they put their money into you. And Jerry has shown the last several years that he really doesn't care, that he is far more worried about his bottom line than he is about putting a winning product out there. And now he's trying to push for public money for this stadium. And he even said back in March that, well, I won't move the team, but you know, I don't have that much longer to live. And boy, if we don't have a new stadium, my kids might just have no other choice but to sell. And the people that they might sell to, they might have to move the team to a different spot. Good. Go. If that's what it comes down to, then go. I feel like this is nothing more than a ploy to try to get taxpayer money for another privately owned stadium. If you think it's such a brilliant plan and a brilliant idea, you get the investors, you get the money, you pay for it. You need a stadium that badly, you pay for it. You can't do it, you take out a mortgage just like everybody else. That's how that works. You don't like it? Go ahead and look at moving somewhere else. Fine. We wash your hands of you. That's my feeling on it. And that goes for the White Sox. That goes for the Bears too. I know the Bears are in stadium talks right now. And that they've got these grandiose, ridiculous ideas of a stadium on the lakefront that there's no way it's going to happen. But if it's taxpayer money or we walk, don't let the door hit you on the fanny on the way out. That's my attitude towards it. That's my thinking towards it. And as for, are the White Sox for sale? I don't buy that for a minute. This whole thing just smells of Jerry's trying to get money for a stadium. That is going to do it for our show this week. Thank you to everybody that hung out in the chat room with us tonight. Tom, Wesley, Kathy, Karen, always Arizona, everybody for hanging out with us. Thank you again to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Place your order at planetjerky.net. Seal the Deal Wax Seals. You can place your order there at iesportsradio.com. Seal the Deal Wax Seals. As long as you're there at IE Sports Radio. Check out the shop. Get some merchandise. The holidays are coming up. You know somebody that likes shirts, likes hats, likes sweatshirts, likes hoodies. All those things. Good stocking stuffers. They're there to be found. You can also check out and learn about this show and any of the other shows on the network, on the program. Thank you to Larry B., the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. Thank you, sir, for all the hard work that you do. Finally, thank you for listening, whether you are watching live on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, or if you were listening later on to the show as a podcast later on in the week. This show is available on all the major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Anywhere you find your podcast, you can find this show. Know somebody that might be interested? Let them know about it. Share it with them. Grow the family here. But thank you for making this part of your week. I appreciate that very, very, very much. Next week, we'll be breaking down Bears and Cardinals. We will be reacting to that one. We'll check in on the Blackhawks. We haven't talked about them for a little bit. We'll check in and see how they're doing. And we'll see what other major stories pop up in Chicago over the next week. For IE Sports Radio and Chi-Town Weekly, I am Adam Karnick. Everybody have a great week. Be safe. Be healthy. Bear down. We